We're going to continue Hilchos Niddah Siman Pei Zayin. We're in the middle, and the issues are ne'emanos. Can we trust a woman when she says that she's confident, that has a strong feeling, she knows where the dam is coming from? We're suspecting that this is not, of course, an ordinary veset, this is her period. There's some irregularity here, and irregularities can come about as a result of all kinds of things. Strenuous exercise, a major trip overseas, or it could be an illness. And the most serious one of all is a roya machmas tashmi, when a woman is seeing blood as a result of intimate. That, of course, presents a big problem, and the Siman began with that issue, and we're going to come back to it. There are ways, however, that she can hopefully resolve it, especially with Shuchan and the like, and we need to know under what circumstances that is still possible. Other than that, I mean, any time a woman sees blood, it is a big question. And even if it's a ketem, even if it's a stain, which we'll be speaking about separately, the whole Indian, the whole sugi of ksomim, stains, she has to look at it. She can't just ignore it. It could be from the mekor, and that's where we're more concerned. If the blood does come from the womb, that could render her tmeya. Or it could be some sort of bruise coming minatzdadim, coming from the sides, coming from somewhere else, not being done from the mekor, not being done need invested. And then, of course, she would be muteres levala, she would be permissible to be with him. She wouldn't have to go through zayin nikim all over again, be clean, wait all the time that is required before she goes to the tefillah. It's a big bother. And I tell people that it's a big question for a Rav to handle, not because it's complex, but because he has to be careful not to tell a woman, okay, that's it, we can't take any chances, you're tmeya, you can't be with your husband. That's a big no-no. The rabbis tell us, koach de hetera adif. It's always better for a rabbi to be able to find a heter. He can find a heter. It doesn't mean that he's lenient. It means that it takes a lot more effort and analysis for a rabbi determining the halacha, resolving the issues, to come up with a heter. Koach de hetera adif, in other words, it's a much greater koach. It can be demonstrated if you can somehow demonstrate to satisfaction of the halacha that there is great reason to believe that this is mutter. Asr is very easy. It's asr. It's tameh. You don't have to prove anything. You just, it looks it. It sounds like it. It appears like that, And what's happening in Hilchos Niddah, if a Rav were to say, or if a husband who thinks without asking, were to say, well, let's not take a chance, and she can only ovulate, a woman can only ovulate and therefore become pregnant about 3 days of the month. And if she just ovulates around the time that she goes to mikveh, which is most women, then if you push her off a day or two, for whatever reason, right, then she's not going to become pregnant. If she's going to miss the tevilah, especially if she has to wait around the chalal the whole time again, then you're preventing her from having children. So this is a big issue. It's not so simple to just say, don't take a chance. Maybe you're tmeya. You ask if there's any doubt about it. The basics, of course, the husband and wife need to know. Basics, everybody needs. The halachas of Taras HaMishpacha, a kala especially, is the one that's responsible, much more than her husband. She has to be aware of certain things. She has to keep track of her period. She has to make sure she's clean. That she did it properly in preparing herself for the mikveh, that there's no chatzitzes. There's a lot of halachas that a kala needs to be aware of, that a married woman needs to be aware of, much more than the husband. And any doubts she should, of course, share with her husband. And any major doubt has to be presented to a Rav. So there can be all kinds of situations that would present a problem as a result of seeing blood, some sort of blood. So now we're talking a little bit more about the issue of ne'emanos. We began talking about, can we trust a woman, can we trust doctors? As if it's a Jewish doctor or non-Jewish doctors. Because we have some doubts. Obviously, when do you have to trust? When you have some doubts. Now, what is one of the doubts over here? One of the doubts in Sif Vov, as the Taz points out, the Mechaber says, "Menes isha loma mako yeshli ba'oiso makom shadam yotzemim." The Mechaber says very simple: a woman can be trusted. When she says, "I have a makkah, I have a bruise of sorts in that particular area where the blood comes from," shadam yotzemimeno, that I know that's where blood is coming from. There's a makkah there, and that is why I'm seeing this blood. Okay. So the woman can be trusted. Somehow she knows. Somehow she feels. So the Taz says, So the Taz just says very briefly, don't forget that this whole concept of makkah, this whole issue of makkah, there's quite a few machlokes, there's quite a few opinions that we went through And especially, we want to know, can we just trust her if she says, I have a makkah? Or does she have to know for sure that this makkah produces dam? That's really one of the big questions. Is it enough for a woman to know, listen, it hurts. I know, I can feel it. I know I have a makkah there. Or do we need to know more than that? How much information do we need? So before we get into it, let's just not forget, and this will help us throughout the halachas, that in the 21st century, technology has advanced, the medicine has advanced. Doctors, I hope, are more knowledgeable than they were in the past. I say I hope because I'm not always sure. Because that was the Chachamim had a concern about doctors. Even though they're Jewish, even though they're professional, mumchim, a doctor can make a mistake. And when does a doctor make a mistake? Especially when we're dealing with an umdana, a hashara, his opinion, his professional opinion, as opposed to what? As opposed to actual visual examination. So, if you're able to visually examine the problem, you're obviously no longer dealing with concern of, well, maybe he doesn't know, maybe. So whenever at all possible, if it's something especially complicated, it leads to a lot of problems, go for an exam. Have it checked out. Have it checked out with a doctor who specializes, of course, in this, who knows what he's talking about, who hopefully has experience with other similar cases. And then you have the examination, plus a professional opinion. And if he's Jewish, then you have it all made. Why Jewish? Because there's always the second concern, that he's lying. Yeah? Somehow the Chachamim did not always trust non-Jewish doctors. Unless they were talking in general terms. As a professional, the doctor was giving his opinion. Yes, we know from our experience that, what do you call, when somebody has blood coming in the stool, many times it's coming from hemorrhoids. Doctors say, there's blood coming from there. That one possibility is hemorrhoids. You know what hemorrhoids are, right? There's different kinds of hemorrhoids. Usually there's no need to be concerned about it, except you're going to have blood in your underwear from time to time. You sit a lot, it has to do with the diet. You can develop hemorrhoids. And hemorrhoids, and the blood can appear in the stool. All of a sudden, blood in the stool, oh, what's that? So we can believe the doctors when they tell us, listen, blood in the stool, very good, very possibly, it's from hemorrhoids. But it could also be something much more. So you want to make sure that it's nothing else other than hemorrhoids. Otherwise, if it's chas v'shalom internal bleeding, there could be other issues that will also make blood appear in the stool. There's various reasons or various symptoms that cause blood in the stool. And you want to check it out. Unless you see for sure. You can see if you have hemorrhoids. The toilet paper will prove it very, very quickly. The consistency of the blood that's appearing. There's various ways to tell. So here, there's different opinions, of course, as to what kind of a makkah we're talking about. How much knowledge do we need to have? So the Mechaber told us that suffice for the woman to say she has a makkah. So if the knowledge is coming from her, she knows she has a makkah there. Shadam yoytze mimeno, and she says, I know that this is where the blood is coming from. We believe her. Remember, a woman does have nemanas in certain areas of halacha, especially in the area of Taaruvot Samishpacha, where she has the responsibility. She's believed if she tells her husband, I went to the mikveh. Her husband is relying on her. This is a major area. We're talking about karet. Chas v'shalom, if she's lying to her husband, this is reason enough to divorce her. In an area like this, we believe her that the kitchen is kosher, that she knows the halacha of Basar b'chalav, especially no reason to doubt her. We're trusting her. So a husband is relying on his wife in many areas, and the children and so forth. So there's a certain level of nemanas here, Rabbi says, and this pretty much everybody agrees with, that she says she has a makkah, and that's where the blood is coming from. But the Ramah then adds something which is already in this, not everybody agrees with it. The Ramah adds, V'chein im omeres borei li she'ein dam zeh ba min hamakor, nemenes utehoiro. He brings down from another source that it's clear to me, the woman says it's clear to me that the blood that I see is not coming from the core. She doesn't say anything about a makkah. I know, I can tell, it feels different. I know when it comes to the makor, I feel one way. And this one is not coming from the Makor. She is believed, and she's Tehara. On this, not everybody agrees. A lot of the Achronim say we don't follow this Ramah unless Yesh Od Sad Lehatir, unless there's another reason to be mater. To suspect that she did get hurt there once upon a time. Then it could be that we can add that to her saying that somehow she knows. But just by that alone, without knowledge of a makkah, not everybody is lenient over here. All right. See, in Sif Zayin, we briefly spoke about another scenario where somehow she can tell. And this one involves a little bit of a check. So I'm going to read it again inside. If whenever she checks herself in all the little nooks and crannies, that's the translation of the words. There's actually, I don't know if you really use those words because there's no nooks and crannies thing inside the woman, but there's folds, and, I guess the skin. But that's what chorim uzdaki means, So he's using those terms inside the woman's body. So whenever the woman checks herself all over inside, she does not find stains on her cloth, except the makom echad, except always when she touches the side, but tzaddim, yesh litlot, you can assume, you can presuppose, שממכה שבאותו צד בא, that it has come probably from a makkah, bruise on that side. וכל שכן, the more so, אם מרגשת בשעת בדיקה, if she feels at the time she's examining herself, שנוגעת בצד המקום, when she touches that spot, כואב לה קצת, it hurts her, it's sore. ובשאר חורים מוסדקים אינה מרגשת כאב כלל. And when she touches the other parts of that area, interior area, she doesn't feel any pain at all. So this also is very helpful. Now, why is this helpful? Why is all this helpful? Remember, we're dealing here with an important area called Royo Machmas Tashmish. That's number one. In other words, we want to make sure that this woman stays married to her husband and live happily ever after. And we want to eliminate, even though right now we're not per se discussing that halacha, now we're just talking about blood in general. It does not have to be that she saw blood machmas tashmish. I'm just saying that the Siman covers these two areas. Roya machmas tashmish, which is very serious. Just only then, besides the regular period, that's when she sees dam, as a result of the relationships. Or she sees dam, and this is not her veset. And what is this? Could it be an early veset? Or could it be from a makkah? Now, if it means that it's a makkah, then she may not have to worry about going to the mikvah. So it's just a pain. So this one, of course, is not going to make her get a divorce from her husband, right? Like Roya Machmas Tashmish, which is a much more serious situation. But still, if she bleeds, she could have allergies, she could have a choili. We explained the Aruch HaShulchan and looks at the whole thing of Roya Machmas Tashmish as a type of illness. We're going to see soon, right now, another kind of scenario with dam every time she goes to the mikvah. Only then, besides her period. Dafka, when she goes to the mikvah night, what could that be? It's not Roya Machmas Tashmish per se, by itself, because in the middle of the month, she was with her husband and there was no dam. But just that night, the first night she's coming back from the mikvah, she's seeing blood. What's going on? Now, I did tell you before that the body of a human being, especially the woman, is complex. And the best doctors may not know everything. What could trigger this? There may be things that we will never know. The human being is complex. Is it a feeling that she has? Is it the excitement? How about the water? Is it the temperature in the water? We will be learning later on all kinds of triggers. The trigger dam. Oh, exactly. And that's what the Mechaber will be implying. That it appears to be that sometimes a combination of factors can produce the dam. So here, she's checking herself. From time to time, apparently she's had trouble before. And she notices that all the time when she checks herself, she's seeing dam just batzdadim. And Mechaber adds, and especially if she feels when she touches that spot is sore. Based on this information, it is clear that most likely that's where the dam is coming from. I mean, if it's that obvious, when she just cleanses herself in that spot, she takes it out and she says, what? And she tries all the other areas, nothing there. And it's sore, the more so, then that's not a problem. Now, this is also an umdana. Umdana means we presuppose we make a very easy assumption, clear assumption, that the fact that it's from the side, that she feels from the side, makes sense that it's most likely coming from there. Why? Because if it would be done from the makor, then every time she checks herself, she would see spotting or bloody part of her body somewhere else inside. Down that comes to the makor is not in a straight line. It could be all over. Every time she checks herself, she would find some bloody spots somewhere else inside, if it came from the makor. So this is a umdana. In other words, the one where this halacha is quoted from basically explains the reason why we trust her, the reason why this is sufficient to allow her to make this assumption, is because had it been from the makor, she would find it in some other spot every single time. The fact that she finds it all the time in the same area is good enough for us to make this assumption that it's coming minat tzdadim.
Could you comment on the...
Umdana usually does not always have too much halachic weight. But in this case, and in various other situations, there is a good enough suffix. I guess you could say it produces enough of a suffix to be matir. In this case, the question is, can you use it to aser? So it all depends. I haven't gone through the whole looking into the umdana, right, situation. Yeah. Well, we're more using in halachas of Niddah and the halachas of Basar and Taaruvot, we use more the word suffix. There's a suffix, and we have suffix the Raisa, we have suffix the Rabbana, we have Sfeika. Umdana is more of a circumstantial evidence of that create enough facts that, based on the facts that we have, we presuppose certain. We can make the assumption. So it's not really a suffix per se, but it functions like a suffix. And here, that's the umdana. The umdana is that we presuppose that this is their facts, this is the reality. We have enough information to go by that allows us to presuppose that. Until we hear otherwise, until we know otherwise. Because we have to remember what chazaka is. Chazaka means that a woman has a cheskas tahara. And that has helped her in various situations. To remove her from a cheskas tahara, a lot more information to aser her. So here she would be aser perhaps if she wouldn't check. Comes along this woman and says, but I've been checking myself. So this continuous checking, based on what she's finding, we say that there is an umdana, or enough factual information to relate this dam from a makkah on the side versus the makor. It's actually much better than a suffix. I mean, there's no real suffix. Our umdana is stronger, apparently. All right. How does this umdana help here? So the Meforshim explain that the umdana here, that we're basically saying that it's most likely not coming from the makor, but coming from the side, based on what she's done, is strong enough to not have her go to the mikveh every time. That's what this umdana produces. If you wouldn't have an umdana, in other words, you would just have a plain suffix, just a plain suffix, it's a suffix. You have to go. It could be that this is real blood. So this is, this is to her advantage, because finding it in that spot, especially if it's sore, is enough of an umdana. In other words, there's enough factual information that we can spare her from having to wait again to 7 and having to go to the mikveh. Not besides the other issue, that this is not roy machmas tashmish now. In other words, besides that, this can resolve that, because she has apparently a makkah. This also will prevent her or spare her the trouble of going to the mikveh every single time that she's, again, it's bloody inside. Yeah, but it's always from the same side. It's from a makkah most likely. So this umdana is strong enough to spare her, even the having to go to the mikveh, besides roy machmas tashmish, that anybody hopefully will see that it's clearly not royal machmas tashmish, because it's coming from the sides, without any connection to the tashmish itself. Yeah. Now the Niddah Yehuda, I think the Pischei Tshuva here brings down, I saw, that we're talking about, Niddah Yehuda is a little bit machmer, he says here. He wants to say that we're talking about a woman that knows she has a bruise. But she's just not sure if this bruise is the one that's producing the blood. But she knows she has a bruise. Otherwise, if she were not to know she has a bruise, but she's always checking herself, it's bloody. then he says we're not lenient. So Niddah Beyehudas in the Shalos and Chuvas, I believe, he says we're assuming that this type of a woman knows she has a bruise. She's just not sure if that bruise is producing blood or not. But I saw in the name of Rav Vosner, he has a Shalos and Chuvas called Shevet Halevi. And in his Shiurim on Hilchas Niddah, I saw that he brings down that there are others, Tiferes LeMoshe, Shut Avnei Miluyim, other Achronim who bring down, who are in other words, who dispute the Niddah Beyehuda, and they are lenient even if a woman does not know for sure she has a bruise. She's never gone to the doctor. She doesn't know for sure what she has. She doesn't know what's going on. But she just knows that every time she checks herself and cleans, it's always in that spot. They seem to be lenient. But halacha lemaisa, I don't really know for sure if everybody's masking with those poskim. So it's a little bit of a question. Can you rely on them? What I do know is that this din over here that Mechaber speaks about, it seems to be that there's consensus, at least amongst the person who discussed this halacha, that she must have seen that blood in the side 3 times. Whereas Rav Vosner says 2 times would be sufficient if she also feels sore on the spot. So it's not that she just saw once blood on the side. She's seen it 3 times, or the way Rav Vosner says, seen it twice, and plus she knows she's sore. Then perhaps based on all that, it would be sufficient to assume that she does have a bruise, especially if she's sore. I would say she feels the pain. That in itself tells you it's a makkah. The question is when there's no pain, of course. You need to really know that there's a makkah or not. So whenever in doubt, just go to the doctor. A lot of these halachas is when there's no doctor present, or she couldn't get to the doctor. I mean, today we have the ease of just going to the hospital, just going to the clinic. In those days, a woman may be living in some small village 300 kilometers from the closest doctor. And who knows how far from the closest mikvah. That's besides the point. Even though there was somebody that maybe lived not too far, a village doctor who would come to check, but would he be a specialist in this area? I don't think so. So there are times when a woman doesn't have who to ask. But if you're able to answer any one of these questions, that's the best thing, because that may be very, very helpful. As we will see in the next seif, that sometimes the doctor can really be helpful. All right.
Two questions.
Yeah.
One, what level of they go through their internship and the residency in this?
Right.
Do we require
Yes, we require a mumcha. A mumcha means a specialist in this area.
could not rely upon
A general practice doctor.
a general practice or
No. A telephone diagnosis would be more like a hashara, an opinion, a medical opinion that's given about a situation in general without being specific about this particular person. So there's a big difference between a doctor who offers an opinion, a general opinion, versus one who has diagnosis. And that's a question in Ne'emonos too. The biggest problem with Ne'emonos, see what the Poskim wrote about, the problem that the Chacham had with doctors and Goyim especially, was when they gave their medical professional opinion about a situation, not when they told you, I've examined her, and this is what I have found. Because that already involves 2 things, medical opinion plus an exam, which is what appears to be, we said last time, appears to be from the Gemara. There was a case in the Gemara where they sent to consult with the doctor, and they suggested to do something. There was a suggestion to what to do to eliminate any doubt, plus there was a medical opinion. So that's what you would need. Anyway, so that takes us to Sif Ches. Now, Sif Ches is going back to the question of Roya Machmas Tashmish. We're going to see a little bit more of that today and next week. So far, all we know about Roya Machmas Tashmish, besides that it's a problem, that she basically has very, very little room to get out of it, if in fact that's the problem. She has 3 chances, 3 husbands. She has to find, of course, 2 additional men. I mean, it could be that the second time around everything will be okay, but she has up to a maximum of 3. And then there is also a last chance or last result called Dika Shvaferes, where a tool of sorts, some sort of tool, can be inserted to somehow figure out if in fact every time something is inserted there, if that produces the blood. In other words, what is it that's causing this? We don't know. So there is a way that she can become clean. There is a way that she can become muteris. Otherwise, if every single time she's with a man, this problem occurs, she's in trouble.
So if the tube tells us that it is then she would continue to see blood, but now it would not with her husband?
No, it would. Remember, b'dikas sheferes is in a sense was another leniency. She's given another chance that if the b'dikas sheferes says she's okay, she's no longer seeing as a result of a tube being inserted.
Oh, so that's coming out.
Right.
Be,
yes. And now, because we're trying to figure out a way for her to be able to go back to being a woman that can be intimate with a man. So either a second man, a third man could do it, or the b'dikas shoferes. What we're going to be seeing now is medication. She's tried everything, nothing worked. Second husband, third husband, shoferes. Is there any possibility for medication to help? And we spoke briefly about it back then, that today and age, there is all kinds of stuff out there to control the period. There's pills, there's surgeries, and there's all kinds of things that perhaps can deal with it. And we want to know under what circumstances they are allowable. Do we allow them even after she's 3 strikes and she's out? Right, 3 husbands? Or is it only going to be when she has not tried everything, and now she says, well, I know I have this problem. I'm going to take all this medication, vitamins, and Chinese acupuncture and all these things, and hopefully I'll be healed, and then it will go away. So that's what we want to know. Can that be done, and when can it be done? That's Sif Ches. So maybe we'll read it inside, then we'll go to the question of ne'emanos by doctors. So Sif Ches says, Mechaber says like this, Im tirtzeh. So we're going back to Roy Machlos Tashmish problem. Im tirtzeh litrapot. She wants to be healed, cured from this problem. Sarich sheyeh kodem shetitchazek. It has to be before she has a chazaka of 3 times. So far the Mechaber tells us she wants to use medication, she wants to use surgery, she wants to be able to litrapot, to recover from this, if it's possible. He says it has to be before she's had a chazaka. Chazaka meaning 3 times. Now, yesh mistapkim im mutar lismoch al refuah leshamesh achar kach. Some, then he says, some have a suffix. If afterwards, she could rely on refuah, on medication, to be with her husband. So what is he telling us so far? Before 3 times, go ahead. Do it. Medication will help you, has a chance of helping you. Do it while you can. After this, not everybody agrees. You can, yesh mistapkim, he brings. Can you rely on medication for the woman to take a chance and be with her husband again? 3 times she saw blood. V'yesh mishimatir, but some are going to go as far as saying as this. Im amar la rofei Yisrael, if a Jewish doctor, and when we say Jewish doctor, observant doctor, tells her that you're healed, I checked you out. Yesh mishimatir, some say it's mutter based on his own ne'emanos, right? Even though it's after the fact, apparently. After the words that she's had this problem. And she, if the woman on her own, after taking all kinds of medications and pills, she sees that her veset stopped. She doesn't get a period. She doesn't see any blood anymore. And it's as a result of the medication, and it's apparent that they have benefited her. Then you can even trust a non-Jewish doctor. So now you have 2 things. You have the woman knows my body has changed. I don't see the period, no blood, no staining, nothing for a while. And she goes for an exam, and the Ovid Kochavim doctor, the non-Jewish doctor, says to her, whatever problem you had before, I don't see it, lady. He's of course a professional, he knows what he's talking about, he's a goy. We believe him. So again, we see from the halacha, without getting into the details, just from the mechaber alone, we see, wait a minute, there's apparently a difference between a Jewish doctor and non-Jewish doctor, medication versus no medication. So, what's going on?
You would see that we are relying
Well, it's a combination of the 2. Yeah.
on
She can, right, we're not just trusting her. she's healed completely. We need both. But the doctor can be a non-Jewish doctor in the case that she knows herself too. Because remember, what did we say before? What's the problem with Ne'emanos of a goy? Part of the problem with Ne'emanos of a goy is he's not saying the truth. Second problem of Ne'emanos with any doctor, even a Jewish doctor, is he could be making. So these are the two problems. Is he telling the truth? Plus, there's a chance he's making a mistake. Doctors make, even Jewish doctors. So whenever there is just a hash'ara and a medical opinion based on not seeing the patient, like you were saying over the phone, that's not good enough. Even a Jewish doctor, we do not trust his. Oh, she's fine. No, she sees blood. No, it must be something else. It must be a makkah. He didn't see the woman. There is a possibility for error in judgment, even though he's a medical professional. We don't trust the opinion of the doctor. The ne'emanos, therefore, is lacking in this kind of a case. Yeah, and but that leads us to a question. By choyle sheyesh bo sakana, a choyle, a sick person that has a sakana, is very, very ill. Legabe Shabbos or Yom Kippur in Halacha, Hilchos Shabbos, or legabe Hilchos of Yom Kippur, he's allowed to eat. Whenever there's a suffix, he's a choyle sheyesh bo sakana. There's a suffix, You know, as far as talking about sakanas, when you learn Hilchos Shabbos, you will notice something very interesting about the anatomy of beings, and that is that the Chachamim were very clear and very strong about it, that internal injuries are dangerous. What's an example of an internal injury that you may never suspect is so dangerous? Diseased gums. The gums inside the mouth is very, very badly bruised or diseased. Yes, I did. Yeah. Internal injury. It's internal, and that can spread. It's an infection. People have died from it at the dentist. From what? Some people are stronger than others. Their immune system is stronger. Who knows why some people die from it and some not? But it can result in death. Internal injury. Certain bones that are broken. Dislocated shoulders. And you wonder why. It's just a bone. Anyway, the Chachamim knew that certain things, for whatever reason, somehow can lead to infection, can shock. I don't know. I myself don't know all the reasons, all the possibilities of why this should lead to death. Yeah. But it could happen. Shock, I'm told, is very dangerous. Shock. You know what a shock is? Sometimes a person is not injured. He's in shock. Heart attacks. So you have to be careful. You don't take it. So in Hilchos Shabbos, we don't take a chance. In Yom Kippur, we don't take a chance. We make him eat. So there's, of course, a way on how to, on Yom Kippur, make him eat less than the shear. Okay, it all depends. But you continue to give him if he needs it. So the question here is, the question that is raised over here is, if a suffix in Shabbos and in Yom Kippur, the gabi suffix pikuach nefesh, we don't take a chance, and do what? We do rely on the doctor. Why here shouldn't we rely on the doctor? You hear the question? So what's the answer? Very simple. When the doctor tells us something in Gabish, and it's Shabbos, or it's Yom Kippur, then we have a suffix. Yes or no? And the halacha is very simple. Suffix pikuach nefesh lekula. Very simple. When it comes to pikuach nefesh, suffix pikuach nefesh, his life is in danger, lekula. But here, you need vadai. A suffix in itself is not enough. Doctor says, there's a good chance that this is not what you think. Could be all sorts of other things. It could be, I need to know for sure. Can you examine her? Can you figure it out for sure? I need to know for sure. Suffix by itself is not enough. We're machmir here. Here we need a vadai. Pikuach nefesh, there's something called suffix pikuach nefesh lekula. By pikuach nefesh, you better be lenient. You better take the person yourself on Shabbos. You need to not wait for an ambulance. Woman giving birth. You don't wait. Pikuach nefesh. Obviously, sometimes we don't know if it's a pikuach nefesh. We don't know. We're not doctors. So therefore, if a doctor tells you, then you have enough of a suffix to say suffix pikuach nefesh lekula.
You don't stop to ask a doctor on Shabbos.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't know if it's a life. You don't know.
So if you don't,
You don't know.
so what, you're going to die while the guy's...
No, you don't know. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you don't know.
So
We're
you act. You don't know. You grab to the
No,
hospital.
but what I'm saying is you don't even know. Sometimes somebody has something happening. You don't know if this is Safek Pikuach Nefesh or not. So you need to ask, and you should ask, to become, informed. Because, you're not going to just take him for any Safek. Because you don't know if this is a Safek Pikuach Nefesh.
There's two ways. Either I don't know for certain,
Right.
but I suspect
Right.
that I go off. In the meantime, he might die. I don't know how.
That's correct. That's correct.
But
If you have,
if you're saying,
you have to have enough of a doubt.
but if you think it's nothing, who knows? Maybe it is something. That wouldn't be sufficient.
Right.
I mean, if you think maybe it is something, as someone's saying.
Yeah.
But if you think there is danger, then you're required to.
Yes, you're correct. If you reasonably believe, you reasonably believe. Yeah, right. Or otherwise, you ask. And in the Halacha itself, in Hilchos Shabbos, you have examples of what constitutes a pikuach nefesh. It's important to learn, and so we know, that just for a finger hurts, you don't take it. You got sprained. We don't want to chas v'shalom Shabbos just because of our ignorance. All right, so that was one of the issues. The first issue was the suffix that the Sefer Truma had, which is the makor of this, was how much can we rely on just an opinion of a doctor, even if he's a shomer Shabbos, because it's possible that he's making a mistake. In other words, even though he says, I see that she's cured, that she's healed, it could be that it's a mistake. He's not 100% right. But we have the Ritzvah, who's matir. If a Jewish doctor says that she got healed. So this is even after the fact. If there's some sort of confirmation, and it's a Jewish doctor who's saying that she's healed, then healed is healed. So at least we have closure. Obviously, if she were to see blood again, then we would realize that this is a problem. Unless that problem does not surface immediately, surfaces later on, a few years from now, then she would have to go through the 3 times again. So what this doctor did was give her another chance. And by the next chance, we will know for sure if he was right or not. So the question is ne'emonos. Do we even give her another chance? So some say if it's a Jewish doctor, yes, and you had that chance even later on, if in fact she went through the procedures, the medical procedures to become healed. Yeah, it's conditional. Yeah. Chassam Sofer, remember we spoke about the Chassam Sofer before. He said that in general, doctors, we don't just take their word for it. The Chassam Sofer says, in general, if they give an opinion. But if they do an exam, that's something else. Then you can rely on him. In other words, even if it's a Jewish doctor, that's the chid. The Chassam Sofer say, even if he's a Jewish doctor, we just don't rely over a phone call. Just an opinion. She has to go through an exam. And that's why it's always advisable for her to be checked out by a doctor, and hopefully a reliable doctor with better tools. As we explained last time, with the better tools and a real examination, there's no reason for them to lie. Hopefully they'll be telling us the truth. So in the last detail of the halacha, l'gabei a goy, a non-Jewish doctor, even though he's lacking in the monas, if you have, as the term goes, raglaim ledovor, you have enough facts to pretty much rely on besides the doctor, then the facts plus the doctor, even though he's not Jewish, would be sufficient. In other words, we can tell that from all the medication she took, she has improved. She hasn't seen it. Plus, the non-Jewish doctor gives his opinion after checking her out. So as a result of the combination of the two, his ne'emonos is okay. Then we have less of a doubt if he's lying or not, or if he's making. So that's what we have towards the end of the halakha of Sifches, that somehow the medication appeared to have worked. Then you can be soimet on even an oivik chovim, the combination of the two.
Strikes me it's being strange in this whole ne'emonos issue.
Yeah, the one
is that. And when we don't, depends on certain circumstances.
Yes, that's
that
correct.
have nothing to do with doctor or his
that's
prior
correct.
training.
Right.
So why would probability that he's not making a medical error or with his character? So it would seem that because of the threshold the risk that we're willing to honest. The threshold for that is low.
Yeah, because we
So
said
his nemanis has
right.
he has remained with honest, but we don't bear that high degree of
That's correct. You're saying it. You're presenting it because what happens when you have certain facts, then you have less of a chance for error, which is a second concern we have. There's a concern of error and a concern of nemonos. The concern of error applies even to Jewish doctor. The concern of nemonos applies to a non-Jewish doctor or a doctor that is not religious.
So concern of errors?
It's two separate concerns.
But they both in the category of nemonos?
Not really. Nemonos has to do with, do we trust him? Is he saying the truth?
Truthfulness. I'm not an expert.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That has nothing to do with nemonos.
No, nothing to do with nemonos. Right. So if you have enough information that the woman says, listen, I feel better, I don't see the problem anymore, somehow it's gone away, then you can trust the non-Jewish doctor says, yes, I've checked her out, and from what I can tell, she doesn't have that problem before. So you would need, in that kind of a situation, for our purposes, of allowing this woman to continue to be with her husband, the combination of the two, if she in fact has recovered. In other words, the problem is no longer there. Then why? Just because it happened to her 3 times, right? Some wanted to be machmer, but this is still a possibility. So that's what the Mechaber begins with the words in tirtze litrapot. She wants to recover. There may be a way for her to do so. Seif Tes is a very unusual situation. It's really not very much relevant today because we don't use it. But Mechaber interestingly brings it down because that's the Gemara. In the Gemara, there's several examples, several stories of a woman coming with this big question that's bleeding all the time. And one of the solutions that the rabbi decided to try was he told his helper, go and scare her to death. Do something to scare her. Yeah, but I mean, that's an expression. Scare her to death. Yeah, scare her. And somehow he succeeded to scare her so much that as a result of the scare, chunk of blood came out from her.
Chunk, in other words.
That's the way I'm using it. It's called charoro. Charoro means
is that like congealed liquid blood?
it wasn't liquid blood. No, it was a chunk, piece, a substantial piece. And the rabbi told her, go home, now you're clean. In other words, your situation has been, what's the word for it? Has been remedied as a result of this scare that you just had and the charora of dam having fallen out of it. You had this chunk of blood in somewhere there that was producing this blood. And we got him, scare you, and it was released. And you no longer have it there.
I didn't ask what they did to scare her.
No, I wish I knew.
Yeah, that's the instinct.
I wish I knew. I guess there's various ways to do that. So that's what Siftas talks about. If chiduha pitom, they scared her suddenly. V'nafal mimeno hararat dam, and a chunk of blood came out of her. V'nitrapet, apparently, she has recovered because the blood is not coming back. Muteret lebala, she's muteres to her husband. Now, im chazra v'ra'ata machmata shmish, afilu pam achat, if she goes back to seeing blood even one time because of tashmish, v'yadua shelo nitrapet, then we know for sure that we thought she did recover, but apparently she did not. There was another woman, the Gemara brings down over there, who they tried the same thing. They tried to scare her, and it didn't work. Not that she got scared, but nothing came out. So the Gemara says, apparently that woman is the one that the Gemara discusses there, that fills up with blood in her arteries there, in her veins, around that area, inside, close to the womb. And somehow, eventually, it spurts out. So that was not a charoro. In other words, she does not have a chunk of blood sitting there somewhere, just releasing blood. Because the pachad would have released it. Nothing came out, so she had a problem. So in this case, if somehow we were able to see the charoro come out, and she recovered, she's muteres to her husband. But if she sees it again, machmasashin, of course, even once, we know she has not recovered. The Mechaber says anyway, bizman hazeh, in our times, ein matirin alidei refuah, so we don't allow to use kind of medical healing treatment. Alternative medicine. Scare her. This is not enough. This is not sufficient. We don't rely on that. What if she did it anyway? What happens if she did it? No, somebody did it to her, and a chunk came out. If it was done by the Ever, we don't tell them to get divorced. But we don't allow her to marry another husband either. In other words, if she's single, right now, she's already divorced, this in itself would not allow her, would not permit her, as the Shach point brings out over here. Maybe I should read it inside. כלומר, אין לעשות רפואה זו לכתחילה להתירה על ידי כך. We don't do this refuah לכתחילה to permit her. אינמה שאם נתגרשה, or for example, let's say even if she got divorced, ואחר כך עשה רפואה זו, אין אותה להינשא. She cannot marry somebody else based on that. אלא שאם עשתה רפואה זו בעודה תחת בעלה, הם מוצאים אותה מבעלה. But if she did it while she was still married, we'll say, you know what, you can stay. Maybe in fact you did recover. So לכתחילה, we don't do this. That's what actually the Mechaber continues on to say too. אין מתיר על ידי רפואה זו, ומיהו אין מוציאין אותה מבעלה אחר רפואה זו, עד שתיבעל ותחזור לכתבה. We were not going to take her out. We're not going to make her divorce her husband after this refuah unless it happens again, that she's again intimately involved and she goes back being mekulkelet, that she sees damach mastashmi. In that case, of course, we know that she did not recover completely. So there could be various ways to help women, depending on what the problem is, what's causing it. And hopefully, if she takes care of it before 3 times, then everybody pretty much is masking that she's okay. After the 3 times, I mean, she's done it 3 times, she's already, in a sense, asura. Can we undo it? So we saw a little bit of discussion about professional help, medical help, with surgery and all that, that it still may be possible if we are very, very convinced, beyond any doubt, that the medication and the surgery has done their part. That could be her only life savior, in other words. So this is all a possibility without having to come on to getting married to somebody else, trying other ways, and trying to keep the shalom at home. The Chachamim were a little bit more lenient here than in other cases in order to preserve the marriage. Okay, I think we'll continue to seek you next time.